Okay, Restream's got stuff coming through. Stage 1 complete. Okay, fingers crossed. Oh, look at that. Both Twitch and YouTube have come on at the same time. We're gone. We're working. We're running.
Yay!
I love when that happens so smoothly and easily.
This stuff actually works.
Good day, my name is Suffolk Ram.
Skazz.
Welcome to episode 179 of the Vanez podcast. Not long now, Skazz. Christmas is round the corner.
Makes me sad.
Aww.
But it makes me
Skazz
happy.
that stole Christmas.
Yeah, fuck Christmas. Christmas is la turd. But this
You
year
get
is
meat
almost
box
over.
at Christmas.
I do. That's the bit I'm looking forward to.
24th. That's the date we've planned to deliver it.
Oh, I can't wait.
Yeah.
I can't wait.
I am the meat Santa Claus.
Just imagine you with like a dripping bag over your shoulder with just all these raw meats in it.
Yeah. Make sure you leave out the glove.
Were you a good boy this year? It's like for all the dads. Were you a good father this year? Have a slab of undescribed fucking whatever.
If you're a good boy, you get some rump steak. If you're a bad boy, you get the offal. And if you're really a bad boy, you get the awful offal.
If you're the bad boy, here's a potato.
Do you know what awful offer is?
No.
Awful offal is what they used to call when they used to castrate all the lambs. And they used to collect together all the testicles. They used to occasionally fry them up, and they used to call it awful offal.
There you go. You got some nuggies.
Yeah, literally. Little lamb nuggies.
Delicious.
So yeah, you got that to look forward to.
Yay! I might get some nuggies in a box.
Yeah. I will. No, well, I guarantee you that none of our sausages have any pig's nuggies in them.
Oh mate, no pig
They
nuggies.
get cut off. No pig. I mean, if you want some pig nuggies, I can probably arrange it. I'm sure it's entirely possible for me to arrange a pair for you if you really want some.
So I can make some earrings out of them, or put them in place of where mine used to be.
Mate, if you see the size of a pair of pig's nuggies, the earrings would be huge. They'd be like in the 1980s.
Mate,
They'd be touching your shoulders.
I'd hate to say it. I mean, not like anyone would notice the difference. Ah ha ha ha. Yeah, sure. What the hell is this? Oh dear.
Yeah, I'm sure it's
What stuff can't you actually ship off of a?
pretty much. We use pretty much all of it. There isn't a lot we don't. Can't think of anything we don't really use. I mean, some of it's just not wanted. So the nuggies, brains. I don't think they do anything with. But like all our sausages are actually packed. Our traditional sausages, and they are actually all packed using intestines
Oh, there you go.
rather than synthetic. My friend says they used to use synthetic intestines. So what they made is they're made of lamb's intestines. I said, well, hang on a second, how are they synthetic then?
It's just not
Yeah.
it's not the animal the rest of the meat came from.
Yeah, it's not. Yeah,
It's
like,
borrowed.
yeah. So yeah, we use extra tests, but there's not a lot we don't really use.
Oh, there you go.
So yeah,
I was just curious if there was
Nothing goes to
anything that
waste.
doesn't get.
There
know.
isn't a lot of waste from sorting animals. There isn't a great deal of waste. I mean, you get stuff that's pure is not really wanted, but generally most of it gets used. There is it's actually nothing really goes to waste from an animal.
Mm-hmm.
There's a book which I'm trying to get hold of a copy because I wanted to get to my friend because I think he'd find it interesting, and it basically looks at one pig, and it follows it through, sort of like the post-production side and
all
sees
the different
all the
things that it ended up in. Interesting.
Yeah, and it's amazing all the stuff it ends up in, and just like one pig ends up in all this.
Mm-hmm.
So I keep trying to find it because I think you'd find that interesting. But
I was going to say, because all the fats would be processed into.
To me, we tend to get most of ours back because we tend to. So what normally happens with ours is they get gutted at the slaughterhouse, and the carcass then goes to the butcher whole.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes, if we want, we can ask them to cut in half. We don't. By default, they'll come in half for you because generally you set them in half carcasses. Generally,
Sure.
we normally request not to be cut in half because for certain ones, for like the hog roasts, we say we don't want them cut in half because if you went to hog roast and it was two halves of a pig leaned up against each other, it's not quite so good looking.
Yeah, sure.
So we have to request that. But in general, they'll cut them in half if they don't tell them not to. When they go to the butchers, and all our stuff gets sold. So the actual sort of inside bits, there's not a great demand for them, apart from so we keep the intestines now and stuff like that. But there's a great demand for the kidneys and stuff. But in general, there's all use for everything. You don't really make use of skin off pigs. You don't skin them so much. You just burn the bristles off, and then basically just eat them virtually as is, virtually. Because the skin is your crackling.
Yeah.
Normally, so you don't really. Whereas obviously cow or sheep, you skin them or pull the pelt off, and because they get sent off to other processing. So obviously we know what happens to cows. Skin it all become leather. So all goes elsewhere. So nothing goes to waste. It's a very efficient
people
system.
Complain so much then about? Because I'm noticing that a lot more recently. Because I always thought it was pretty, we used pretty much everything. I wasn't entirely sure what bits we didn't of what animal, but for the most part, I thought we used most of it.
Pretty much most of it.
But everyone says it's so wasteful. In what way?
It's wasteful, and I think their argument is it's not so much wasteful in the end result being processed. It's wasteful in that
it takes a lot for it to get to that point.
Yeah, it's not. If you from a per sort of, if you just look at the land as you want something out of it, growing grass, getting something to eat the grass to convert that into meat is a fairly inefficient system. But the alternative is you basically turn it into cropland and grow crops on it instead.
But then what if you have land that isn't as subprime?
Well, there you go. So you can graze stuff on it and so forth. I think where people get objectionable is where we get to the stage where we are like in this sort of big intense production where we are growing crops just to feed things, just to feed animals. You think, well, what's the point? You might as well eat the crop yourself rather than feed it to an animal that you're going to eat at a later date. There is a certain logic there. It's a bit like sort of like we have power stations that generate electricity, which then goes to an oil refinery to heat and break stuff down, or fire it up to crack oil into fuel. We put electricity straight into the car.
Yeah, sure.
So in that, I can't deny that is a logical assumption. Well, it would be more efficient. However, the way I see it is, are we going to get rid of all the grassland? Well, if you've got grassland, you might as well use it.
Yeah, graze things on it, because you can't grow things on it. I mean, if it's not the prime stuff that you're going to get a decent yield out of, then effectively you're putting more shit in to get next to nothing out of it. So you might as well put an animal on it, which will happily do its thing there.
And would you want all the fields turned to cereal crops?
No.
Really?
Well, in my opinion, no.
Exactly. It's nice to have grass and fields out there. It's nice to have big fields full of grass, and graze often is an efficient way of controlling it, because you don't need to mow it, you don't need to chop it up, you can just graze it all off.
Well, the shit lives there too.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know the full details. I did, someone did tell me, but I haven't actually looked up myself, that because of the way that grass fixes carbon, and then the cow eats it, the cow then obviously processes and stores the carbon, it's actually a fairly self-sufficient system. The methane emissions are well, again, we have to admit that they do produce methane. That is true. Can't deny that. I'm not going to try and I can't defend that. That's just a fact of science. They do.
But doesn't methane break down so it's worse than carbon?
CO2, yeah, it is.
Carbon dioxide. However, it breaks down faster.
I believe that's the case, but short term it's still bad. If it's 8 times worse than carbon dioxide, so it's not good.
Sure,
it is not good. I suppose my sort of thing is, well, if you see how many planes there are currently flying the world every day, flying people to their holiday in Ibiza,
yep,
I'm not feeling too guilty, because they put up far more energy and waste than anything I'm ever going to do. So I don't feel that guilty about the whole thing.
Sure.
In that regards, there's lots of other industries that we can cut back on as well. I'm not saying that I do think we should move away from hyper intense production of animals. I don't like it.
Like the battery farming commercial stuff where they're all penned in, and
I've been there, done it. Don't like it. And I'd actually be in favour of having that banned.
Agreed,
I'm a
actually, yeah.
farmer here. I'm happy to have that banned. It would mean that cheap meat would go pretty much. You wouldn't have to be. I mean, because the reason people like Richmond sausages and as their own price sausages can be so cheap is that factory farming happens.
Yeah. I
That
mean,
would go.
realistically, when we were kids, meat was still a luxury, wasn't it? You didn't have meat every meal. Or if you did, you'd had a little bit of it. It's not like
Yeah.
now where we can go, well, you know what, I fancy a McDonald's, and then you piss off
Yeah.
and have a McDonald's, and you come home and have a roast.
Yeah, yeah. It's it has to be more of a. I mean, beef has always been more the luxury. If I say luxury, you can't really intensely rare beef so easily. Mm-hmm. So it's always been that's never left the market. And same, you can intensely rare sheep, but not easily. So it's not really done very much in this country. I don't know of anyone who does it. Mm-hmm. But commercial pig production, intense poultry production, is easy.
Yeah.
It's with poultry production, it's getting to the stage where it can be virtually fully automated.
Which is horrible, really.
It is horrible, and that's why I'd happily see that go away.
Yeah.
So I think also it does come down to a mental thing. If you are, I think the people who have like the outdoor stuff and free range stuff, they care more about the animals because they see them every day, they get to know them, they talk to them, they care about them more and see them more. So I honestly do believe that people in those more free range systems, they see animals as animals, less as things.
Yeah, sure.
So that's why I'm against commercial production, and but I think what we do, it's outdoor, it's free range. From the moment that piglet is born to end up on the plate, I know everything that's happened to it. Mm-hmm. I can tell you its mum, I can tell you its dad, several generations actually now. I know its history. I also know how it's been treated when I've been there. I know how they treat them as well. So I know it's been looked after. It's had a good life, a good innings. Mm-hmm. It's not been kept in a cramped pen. It's not. I mean, it's just massive difference in the behaviour of them. When you walk around.
Except for the commercial pigs can get really fucking nasty, can't they?
Oh,
well,
yeah.
Most animals can if they're.
Oh yeah, you'd walk through. We had our main yard towards the end. And it wasn't a big yard. Our yard was small, but usually you wouldn't have a yard. They don't really like yard. So for tent systems, you have like yard systems. So yard systems, one massive building, everything's open and free. They can move around. Most people use pen systems. So you have one building split into lots of little pens, mm-hmm. and then you have groups in each pen. That's considered easier. It is easier. Because it's easy to automate, it's easy to set up, it's easy to manage because you can then like pull from one group a bit at a time. We used to have a yard, which is a more traditional way to do it. Mm-hmm. Well, towards the end, our yard would have like 120 pigs in it, and you go in there and you had to be fairly fit and able, and just to go for it because they would there's enough of them. You think they're weighing each 80 kilos when they go off, they're about 100 kilos when they went off. So they're weighing between 80 and 100 kilos towards the end. Mm-hmm. Well, you've got 120 pigs in there. That's several tons of pork.
Yeah.
If they pull you over, you ain't getting up. Mm-hmm. Or you're going to real struggle to get up. Because if they pull you over and they climb on top of you, that's a lot of weight holding you down.
Sure.
So that's when you'd walk in there and they'd grab your boots, they'd grab your clothes, they'd try and pull you and grab you and nip at you, and you'd feel them as you're walking around in your boots, you'd feel them nipping the backs of your ankles and stuff in your boots.
Yeah.
And they just were, they weren't designed to, they've been a smallest, and then that was quite big actually, comparatively speaking, for what they normally have in the commercial system. The intent type, it was horrible. And we did that for 6 months we did that for. Was it a year we did that for? And we was like, we can't do this anymore. We hate it. Mm-hmm. It's every step of the way. The only time it's nice is when they're piglets and they're tiny and they can't do anything to you. That's nice. But other than that, it's like 4 or 5 months of absolute just... It's horrible. It's horrible.
The negativity was almost contagious.
Yeah.
Because you'd see what it was doing to them, and then... that would rub off onto you.
Yeah.
So they'd be aggro. That'd rub off onto you because you're being bitten and nipped and all that. And so then you feel negative because you don't really want to have to go in there and deal with it.
No.
So why are we doing it?
Yeah. And we did it initially because of it was to get started. It was good to get the money going when we got started. But we soon dropped and we ended up going to the free range system, which did cost more. We lost money on that effectively at first, but That's now pulled itself round, and now we've got a system we like, and they're just completely different animals. You know, they have a teenage phase where they do get a little bit nippy and bitey. That lasts about 2 weeks, 3
Yeah, sure.
weeks.
As
They get
opposed to,
out.
say, several months.
Yeah, they grow out of it. They grow out of it because they lose the teenage stage, and they just so much nicer. They're so much nicer to handle. You don't go in there. You're not worried about being attacked. I mean, we've got our big what we call the dry sows and the boar, which is the breeding side. They're big. They're fully grown. I mean, don't get me wrong. If one of them wanted to have you, it could have you quite. If you caught you unaware, it could pretty do you a lot of damage.
Yeah, sure.
It could pull you down, and because when our boar we used to have, we only weighed about 400 kilos.
Mm-hmm.
So and we had one. We used to have a commercial boar as well, and he must have been over half a ton.
Mm-hmm.
Big animal, but he was the most gentlest animal I've ever worked with. You could walk up to him and stroke him behind the ears, and he'd happily sort of come up to rub this, and he'd walk round with you and be with you, and he was absolutely fine. Lovely animal. We called him Charlie.
He was a spaniel.
He was not. This one was not. He was a lot bigger than Charlie Spaniel. He was so big. One time I actually laid down, and I laid down next to him, and he was longer than me. That's
I was gonna say you're a pretty tall guy for a start. Let's just clean that one up. He's a pretty tall guy.
Yeah. He's like, this pig's longer than me. Our current pig's called Dude.
Dude, they've run out of names.
Pig. No. Well, I have a real soft spot for Dude. So I went up there one Saturday, and I go in, and we have this old girl sow there who really, by rights, we should have sent her in as a coal sow. She's not. She hadn't had litters for this point. She hadn't had litters for like nearly a year. She obviously wasn't reproductive or so forth. She's obviously full barren. Like, well, but there's a bit of a soft spot for her. So she's hanging around. She's still there, hangs around. No one really touches her. And I was up there one day, and she hadn't come out of the hut. So she's out when you come with food, they all come rushing over, and she didn't come out. So I put some food down. I go get her. I said, "Come on, girl." She's a bit. We think she's going a bit blind now. We think, or a bit deaf. You have to like go and say, "Come on, girl. Here's your food," and sort of take her over. But as I go out, I looked in. There was these 2 piglets in the back of the hut. I was like, "Hang on a second. They shouldn't be there." Because normally, what happens when the sow gets saved, going to piglet, you take that sow away, put it into its own little paddock all by itself. Called a farm, where it's not got any. No one's going to bother it. It can pig quietly by itself. Left to its own devices, it's not going to be bothered for its own safety and for the piglet's safety.
Sure.
And we went up and looked, and there's like there's 2 piglets there. And I looked. I could look at the back of the sows. I could see because you could work out which one's given birth by looking at the back ends. Basically, you can see which one's sort of the wettest, as it were. And it was this old girl. I was like, "You've pigged. You shouldn't be doing this." So the boss is saying, "I'm up at the dry sows. I've got 2 piglets up here from so and so," and he said, "You can't have." I said, "I have." He goes, "You can't have." I said, "She's brown." I said, "I guarantee you, I've got 2 piglets in the sow. You better go up here and have a look." So at this point, I'd gone and had a look at these 2 piglets, and she'd obviously given birth to these 2 piglets. And I will say, normal litter piglets is about 8 to 10, possibly. I've had so 2 is nothing. But she obviously struggled, and when I looked at one of the piglets, because it wasn't really moving very much, when I looked at it, she started to eat it.
Oh, bless.
Because what they'll do is, if they give birth to piglets, and sows think either the litter, if they think either the litter's wrong, or if a piglet they think's not going to make it, rather than let it just die, they eat it and get the energy back.
Yeah.
I mean, I've not had it happen there, but I've heard of cases where my friend, he said he had a sow for her first litter, she ate the whole lot. He went up there, she's finished off the last one. She's killed. They do that. They do that in nature as well. It's not a farming piggy thing. That's just what they do.
Yeah, sure.
So she started to eat one. It was missing its back legs. It was still alive. How it was still alive, I don't know, but it's still alive. It's like, oh, right, this is going on. This other one was fine. So I go up there and had a look, and it's like, well, we can't. I said, she's got no bag on her, no milk on her, which she's never going to raise. And she's eaten half eaten one. We looked at the other one. The other one had a little like scratch on it, which had to go at that one as well. I said, she's going to kill him. We can't leave these with her. What do we do? Because you can't just leave them.
Sure.
So I said, only thing we can't do is we're going to have to hand rear them. So we took these 2 piglets out, put them in the back of the quad bike. The one obviously missing its legs. There's nothing we're going to do for that. We can't save that. It's going to die anyway. So we took that and we shot that one with a bolt gun.
Sure.
But there's nothing. You're not rehabilitating a pig with no legs. It's missing half its back end as well. So just to make it clear, but you should have tried. There's nothing we could have done. It's missing once its legs. I mean, it's mostly missing its back end as well.
Mm-hmm.
There's guts hanging out. It was going to be dead. I was amazed it was still alive. But the other one we had to hand. We decided we were going to have to hand rear. Well, that one was left in the farmhouse, and do you know what they used to hand rear? Because also you have to have milk. They use baby formula.
Oh, there you go.
Nearest thing to pig milk. Because you can't buy, lambs and stuff, you can buy, I mean, you've watched Clarkson's Farms, you can buy lamb milk. You can buy it. It's actually made of cow's milk. But you can buy that stuff, and so if you've got a lamb that gets abandoned, you can make use of it. You can do stuff with it, you can feed it, and what have you. You can't do it at piglets, because the way they're normally produced, no one bothers.
Sure.
In a big commercial saying, if you have a sow abandoned at piglets, you just don't worry about them, let them shoot them all.
Mm-hmm.
We don't do that. So they reared it, and it got the nickname Dude. And of course, it meant it was ultra friendly because it saw humans as its family.
Yeah, you reared it.
So raised it up.
It was it's your piglet.
Yeah. It got obviously very attached to. There's the wife who did the farmer's wife did most of the rearing, so it got very attached to her.
Mm-hmm.
Or he got very attached to her. He got big, and then we moved him outside. And eventually, we put him with some other pigs. Eventually, he had to go with some other pigs because otherwise, he'd always be a tame houseman. He would never learn to be a pig. So when we had another litter of piglets that were a bit younger than him, but there were a few more of them, we put him with them so he could sort of learn what was to be a pig. And then he sort of moved out. And he basically, because he grew up to a really nice pig, and boss like, he's a really good pig. He makes some nice sausages. And I said, if you send him into slaughter, I'd kill you. I said, you're not slaughtering Dude. And he said, the wife's told me the same thing. So she got herself. So it was like decided that Dude wasn't going to go anywhere.
Sure.
Dude was the pig who was going to stay. So lucky old Dude, he ended up going from every time we got a new batch of growers in and finishes in, which the pigs are going to go off, he got moved with them as like to be with them. And then our boar died, and I was like, he's like, what are we going to do? The boar's died. I don't know what we're going to do now. I said, well, we've got Dude over there. He's mature. She says, you want to put him in, not with his full back. I said, what's wrong with his background? Put him in. So Dude's I'm putting with the sows, and he is having the whale of a time, as you can imagine.
Mm-hmm.
There was some concern because his mother is still up there, but we are sure she is barren now, so there's no way he's going to be doing anything with her.
Mm-hmm.
So Dude the boar is how Dude the boar comes, and he's a proper lad now. He's proper. You put him up there, and he went from like being what we call fish pig to really bulking out and really proper manning up. He's really bulked out, and he's got his like proper razorback. His bristles all grown on his back, and he's big
become a dude.
he's become a man. He's gone from a teenager to becoming a man. His voice is broken. He's got a beard. he's
still got his nuggies.
Has he? Yeah. Yeah. He did manage to injure himself the other day. We went up there and he was limping. We realised he must have tried it. It must have been on the back of a sow, badly dismounted and pulled his leg.
Poor dude.
But look, it looks like he's done some actual damage though, because we've been ejecting, but he's not actually got. He's not limping anywhere near as bad, but he's still got a bit of a limp. And it's like, well, this has been several weeks now. It's like he's never going to. That's obviously he's done something.
Yeah.
But he's still doing his job. He's still up there having his whale of a time with the sows. Like, well, if he still gets him into pig, if he's got a bit of a limp, what's the problem?
Good job, dude.
So
see, a duffer leg is not sexually transmitted, so that's fine.
No, it's not. He'll come here. Sorry,
keep going.
But yeah, you'll go up there and he'll come over to you and you can. He likes being scratched by the ears still.
Bless
him.
So I have one more question then, because you said about the book that basically shows you the post of pig. After the pig was pig, what it kind of becomes and what it does and blah blah blah. So I was just thinking, she said, there's not a lot of waste, and a lot of people are saying like, oh well, think about all of this stuff that we're having to do to make pig, make cow, make blah blah blah. But how many other fields would be impacted? Fields as in,
Yeah, I know.
technology and all that. How many how many other areas does that pig,
Oh, hundreds of
cow?
thousands.
Exactly. So when they say, well, don't you think it's a bit wasteful? Well, but think of all of the other things that we'd have to replace those products with.
There's this animal products turn up in. Well, ask anyone who's trying to go fully vegan how hard it is to avoid animal products, and they'll tell you it's nigh on impossible.
Mm-hmm.
Every animal products just turn up in everything.
Mm-hmm.
They are either this on the oils. There's so much stuff. If ever you've used something as simple as lip gloss, the stuff to sort of, or lip chap, stuff to
Yeah.
make your lips unsore. Odds it's got, or actually for any sort of like moisturising cream stuff, odds it's got lanolin in it, which comes from sheep wool.
Mm-hmm.
There are so many little things. I mean, when the £5 notes came out, the part of the £5 notes making process was using something from the guts of cattle to make the polymer. So many little things around your house, and eventually, if you dig into it enough, eventually you'll find that most things have got some animal product in there somewhere. Because we are, as a society, for most things like that, if you're a company, you can make something out of it. You'll make something out of your waste byproduct.
But see, that's what that's what I'm saying. That's what I was curious about. Because to say, well, we're not. If you were only to factor in, as food, then I would concede their argument. Like, I would agree with them that maybe it's a bit wasteful. We're growing all of this, whatever, to feed these animals for just to eat them. That's a waste. But as you've said, it goes into so much other stuff.
Yeah.
And then, so surely that must balance out.
Yeah.
And then, if you were to take away the animals because it's so wasteful, because let's be fair, you're not going to be rearing all those animals if we're not eating them.
Exactly.
Right. So
these are the waste byproducts.
Yeah, which are then being turned into lip gloss and creams and whatever's on top of everything else. There's loads of probably stuff on my desk that's got
at some point, if
not
cow. Not in itself, at some point in production, it may have used a component that's come from something.
Yeah, sure. So I don't know. I couldn't imagine us then coming up with synthetics to replace all of those things if we decided we weren't going to do the things with the animals. Like, how much more damage would that do? Because the material has to come from somewhere.
Yeah.
So what artificial thing would we have to replace it with? And then what would we then have to do to increase yield of that new thing to replace... Do you get where I'm coming from here? I'm really dumbing it down.
Yeah. No, you're not talking about it. But the same issue though also faces us with, and this is, I'm of the opinion that we need to move away from a petroleum-based society.
Yes.
We need to move more to electric and so forth. Trouble is, so many things use petroleum byproducts in them.
Yeah.
Odds are, well, I mean,
pretty much everything on my desk.
Well, yeah. At some point, if you've got anything that uses plastic, which is, let's face it, nearly everything, anything slightly complicated, has probably got plastic in it somewhere.
Yeah.
It's all petroleum byproduct.
Mm-hmm.
So, we've got the same issue there. Is as demand for oil goes down, all the byproduct prices will go up as well.
Yeah. So your cheap telly, your cheap plastic, whatever, that's all going to go up through the roof too, because it's, as you say, it's a waste product, it's a byproduct.
Yeah, unless we can find an alternative. So the issues are there, and they've got some. And there's a company who started making stuff out of bamboo.
Mm-hmm.
And you can make a plastic out of bamboo. It's surprisingly hard wearing. We actually, where I work, we sell my other job. We actually sell some products made of it.
Mm-hmm.
Surprisingly hard wearing, very heavy for its size, very heavy. But remarkably hard wearing stuff, and if it lasts long, so these are challenges we're going to have to face and we're going to have to deal with, because whatever happens as we move more and more away from, and we have to, because otherwise the world's going to end.
Yeah.
We don't. We've probably fucked up already, to be honest.
Yep.
But if we have some of hope, we're going to have to figure out something. But I haven't got the answers.
Sure.
I just hope there are material scientists out there who have got the answers.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, on the end of that gloomy note,
Sure.
so what have you been up to then, Skazz?
If I had to be honest, mate, I've not really been playing anything new. Nothing that I haven't already talked about on the podcast before. I've been having a bit of trouble recently staying focused, and just randomly, I went back into my kind of like little VR journey.
Yep.
Tried all these different headsets and that, and I've been spending a lot more time hanging out with one of my mates who I do VR with. We also have this kind of shtick of playing Souls games. So Demon Souls, Dark Souls, was it Elden Ring, whatever the new one is coming out. I can't remember what it is. They're all usually from Software. There's another Souls style game from I'm going to screw this up now. Is it Team Ninja? I always used to say it was Square Enix back in the day, but it's Team Ninja, I think, called Nioh, which is basically a Dark Souls style game, but set in Japan. So instead of like having hulking great knights and demons, you have samurais and yokai. Yokai are Japanese demon spirits, whatever. We decided for a laugh, because everyone keeps saying to me, "Oh, Skazz, you've got to do a Souls run. You've got to do a Souls run." Because when I play Souls, I go ham on it. I go really balls deep in it. Usually when I play Souls, I pick the dumbest class on the planet, which is Deprived. So I start with no armor, maybe a club, or I just go in there fist things, just punch things, and I just have a whale of a time. Great laugh, because most people say, "Oh, Souls games are well hard," and then usually the people who say Souls games aren't very hard at all are usually the people who pick like heavily armored classes right off the start, or like a battle mage right off the start. So you're like, well, yeah, you're not.
If you're going to start the deck,
Yeah, you're not going to have much of a challenge, are you? Because you've already got some really powerful magic, or you've already got some really hulking great armor. But whatever. I like to start in my underpants. I like to have a bit of a challenge at the start of the game. And so I just run around and box people to death. And because Nioh is similar to Souls, we decided we were going to have a bit of a run through that. And so I've only spent about 8 hours. I first played Nioh in 2017, so I probably spoke about it in one of the podcasts back in 2017. It was a PlayStation 4 exclusive. For a time. I think it came out on PC not long after it came out on PlayStation 4. But the easiest way for most people to get it would have been on PS4, and it sold quite well. But my PlayStation 4 died, so I never really got to finish it. My PlayStation 4 has been playing up for years and years and years and years and years, and I never really got to finish it. I really enjoyed it, because it's, I wouldn't say it's historically accurate, but the main character in the game, his name's William something. He is an actual guy. He's I believe, is an Irish bloke, who was like one of the first foreign samurai. It was pretty much, I'm probably butchering this completely, but he was one of the guys that kind of eased the opening of the borders of Japan to the rest of the world. And so they've kind of crafted this story around him and how he was, employed by the Queen to go and find what was effectively the Philosopher's Stone, which is hidden in Japan, so that they could use that to fight the Spanish, and eventually, the British can take over the world and all that. And so it's you going to Japan to do stuff. And it's interesting, really, because Nioh is one of the few Souls-style games that actually has a story. Like an actual story. Where the game will go, here's a cutscene, here's what you do. Here's the next thing, here's where you go. Here's a stage, here's a stage, here's a stage. Whereas Souls is usually, this is a bit of story at the start, here's a big world, go. Done. No going back to a map. No extra bits of story unless you find it in the world. Just go. Nioh is split up into separate levels. It's different from Souls 2 in that it's a little bit faster. So, Souls is known for being quite slow-paced and quite punishing. You cannot Leroy Jenkins a Souls game. Or a Souls-style game. You can't. Your character is generally built to take on 1, 2 guys, and you're alright. 3, 4, you're starting to push it now. When you get like 5 guys coming at you, you might as well just fucking bend over and take it. Those games will shaft you and they won't give a toss about how you feel about it. That's
in
your
many ways more. In many ways, it's actually more realistic.
Well, yeah, exactly, because you know most of these games you play, like, oh yeah, I'm the main character and I run in, and I've killed like 50 guys, no problem. Nioh, Demon Souls, Dark Souls, Let It Die, I believe, is one of them, or as another Soul-style game. In games like that, mate, just a regular guy can do big damage to you if you're not careful. So but Nioh's a bit faster, so it's a bit faster paced than Souls. You have stances, so upper, middle, and low to represent different sword stances. High stance, where you hold the sword over your head, you do more damage, but it's harder for you to dodge. And you've got lower defense because you're obviously wider open. Mid stance is your balance stance. And low stance is a bit quicker. You get to poke things more and you get to roll about more to dodge out of the way. Stamina management is a huge thing. So everything you do in that game uses a stamina. You've got a stamina meter and a health meter. And stamina is everything. It is in Souls. It is in Nioh. I believe it is in Let It Die too. I've not really played Let It Die, but in Nioh, if you swing your sword, you use stamina. If you block an attack, you lose stamina. If you run, you lose stamina. If you dodge, you lose stamina. Which is why, when it comes to fighting multiple opponents, it gets harder and harder and harder. You have to really pick your fights, because you can't block everything. If 4 guys come at you, you can't just hold the block button and expect to survive. Because every time they hit you, you lose stamina. If you run out of stamina, you can't do anything. You just stand there and take a critical hit.
So it sounds almost like potentially a vicious cycle. If you get yourself in the right bad situation of them hitting you, you try to fight back, you can actually end up being almost stun locked.
Yeah, because if you do manage to get out of the way, even for a second, well, you're probably now taking a heavy hit from another guy, or you go to take a swing, well, you're out of stamina again. Stamina does recover quite quickly, but if you block, you don't even have to get hit. If you hold the block button, your stamina will go up a lot slower than if you let go. But then if someone swings at you and you're not blocking, you lose a shit ton of health and stamina.
And some stamina.
So it's a really fun, fine balancing act. And it's different enough from Souls that I have to recommend it to everyone if you're a fan of Souls. It looks beautiful. You also have spirit animals. So like you have a spirit of your own. And when you collect enough souls, or Amrita, the Philosopher's Stone stuff, that energy, you can do a powerful special attack, which you couldn't do in Souls. But that was one of the things that differentiates it from Souls. So for like 5 or 6 seconds, you can just go ham on things, and your health and your stamina bar become your spirit animal bar thing, and you can just wail on enemies until that runs out. Or if they hit you, the special bar goes down a chunk instead of your health going down a chunk. Really neat, really handy. It's fun. It's cool. So really, it's a game like Souls where you have to learn patterns, take it easy, figure out where things are, and you have to strategize, but it's not big brain territory, Just play it safe. Oh, and it's got this other Souls mechanic where if you die, you lose all of your resources. Resources is in the souls that you've collected from the fallen enemies. Because you use souls to level up. Every time you kill an enemy, you get souls, or Amrita, or whatever. And when you go to a shrine, like in Dark Souls, you go to a bonfire, which is scattered around levels, you can use those points to level up your character. So you can level up a set number of stats. If you die, you drop all of them. They're on the floor where you died. If you die again, so you'll spawn at the nearest shrine that you've gone to, or the last shrine you've gone to. If you die again before you go back to where you died, it's all gone. It's just gone. It doesn't stay on the map, it's gone. So if you had 30,000 souls and you died, there's 30,000 souls on the floor, and your spirit animal is there guarding it, so you can't special attack after you've died until you go get it back. If you die again, all those souls are gone. All that Amrita is just gone. So all that work you did to get those points to level up, or whatever it was you were going to use them for, they're gone. So you have to really play it smart, because you don't want to have shite tons of resources on you, then make a bum move, and then get stepped on.
Is it a case of you have to work an awful lot to level up? Is it a case you have to, you need lots and lots of souls to level up? So, I don't know how souls work.
So, as you level up,
or...
when you start, it might only take, say, 500 souls to go up a level. But then the next level...
How many souls you gain, per kill?
Well, that depends on the enemy.
Yeah.
So that's Skazz.
Experience points, yeah.
Yeah. So, if you kill, a scrubby little guard, who's in Nioh, so in Souls, you don't tend to have... You have levels, stages... But they're sections, in Skyrim. There are some areas in Skyrim where there's really high-level guys, and there are some areas in Skyrim where they're not quite as tough. A peasant with no armor is never going to be as tough as a guy with plate armor, even if they kind of scale with you. In Nioh and Souls, same kind of groove. In Souls, you have zones. Depending on what zone you're in dictates what level the enemies are. In Nioh... If your little guy is just a fisherman with a sword and a bandana on, you kill him, he might be worth 100 points. When you start, that 100 points might be worth a lot. But if you go back to that area later, when you're, say, level 20, 100 points might mean nothing. So as you level up, if I level up strength and then go to level up spirit, well... The requirement doesn't go, it was 500 points to level up spirit to level 2. Or strength to level 2. 500 now for spirit. It's no, you've already leveled up once. The requirement goes up with it. As you say, just like leveling up in an RPG, the requirement will go up per...
It's experience points that you can lose.
Yes. Yeah. And then depending on who you kill, you get more or less, depending on what zone you're in.
I'm assuming once you leveled up, then they're effectively safe at that point.
Yeah. You bank them, you cash them in to level up. So how hard is it? Well, the idea really is that when me and my mate Divine went through it, we're doing, as I say, Divine's usually the one that I kind of do these Souls runs with, and I'm not going to take the piss out of Divine because he's a fantastic Souls player. It's great watching Divine play. Most people get really pissed off with Souls games. I know so many people who actually believe that Dark Souls games are hard. Okay? And they just won't play them because they think, oh, it's a Dark Souls game. It's just unbelievably hard. It's unforgivably hard, and that's frustrating. They're not. And here's the example. So Divine, by the time he got to the first main boss, not the tutorial boss, but the first main game boss. So when you start, you're in the Tower of England, and you fight the Executioner. That's your mini boss one. That kind of gives you an idea of how the mechanics work. When you get to Japan, you fight a fucking big demon on a boat. Right? That boat demon, by the time Divine beat that boss, I think it was about 80 deaths in. I think he'd played for about 3 to 6 hours at that point, and he was around level 10, maybe 12. By the time I got to the area leading to the boat, I was about level 15. So where Divine had died a few times getting there, he'd lost a lot of experience points.
Yeah.
Whereas because
Do enemies respawn when you respawn? So have you got a chance of getting them back?
When you respawn, enemies respawn. When you visit shrines, enemies respawn. So you can't just go, I've cleared this area, oh crap, I've lost health, I'm running back to get my health back. Because the shrines will recover your health, and they will give you back a limited number of healing items. So in Souls, you don't generally pick up healing items from what I remember, but in Nioh, you can. Right, but you get 3 by default. Every time you visit a shrine, they will give you up to 3. So if you have 2, you get 1 back. So you get 3. But all the enemies come back.
Yeah.
With the exception of yokai, which are strong demons. Once you kill them, they're gone. They're just gone. But everything else will come back. So you can't just cheese it and go, oh mate, I've had a really tough fight with that samurai around the corner. I'll go back and get my healing items back. Great. Well, he's going to be back too.
It's a good system.
So you can grind and get your levels up and stuff like that, which is neat. But Divine died a lot more than I did before he got to that boss. He had a much harder time going through that boss than I did. I was much better prepared by the time I got to that boss because I hadn't died as much. He felt he would have to grind more to be able to catch up to me. Because obviously think about it, if he's cleared like quarter of a level, died, gone to get his stuff back, but he died in an unfortunate place and then just got stomped again. So let's say he died in the middle of a 4-player ambush or a 5-character ambush, and he now hasn't got a clue how to beat it, he might run in and get screwed over again and lose all of his kit. Because there are some enemies earlier on in that game where you will be one-shot. No 2 ways about it. If you're not ready for it, a yokai, a big guy, can come up to you, hit you, guard break you, hit you again, you're gone. One shot. If your stats aren't high enough, you are dead. It's just done. And I've seen stories of people playing Nioh where they get up to the first main boss in that game and rage quit. They're like, oh, this game's so cheap, it's horrible, it's all cheese, I keep getting killed, I've been doing it over and over and over again, I've played loads of other Souls-style games, and this is just terrible. He's got a crit attack that does, 1,800 health points, but I've only got, I've only got 1,000. Oh, that's a one-shot, it's not fair. Well, that's funny, because when I beat the boss, I beat it in under a minute. So I don't see where people... Well, I do get where people's problems was, because my first death came at the hands of that boss. I mean, it literally just took its weapon and fucking clubbed me on the head with it, and I was like, oh, well, that's me dead. I'm going to have to figure out a different strategy. That's what you have to learn the patterns. You have to learn the groove. You have to pay attention to your stamina. You have to pay attention to the environment, because the environment will kill you too. You stand in fire, your health is gone. You get poisoned.
I would hope so.
Exactly, but that works the same for the enemies too. If you can lure them into a fire trap, they're going to lose health too. But people still see it as cheap because of how they die. I will say though that some boss instances can be cheap, because if you die in a boss instance, you lose your spirit animal in that boss instance. So it's not like you can just run there, get it back, and then leg it, and go and do some grinding. You're going to have to grind without having your special attack. Which can be a fucking lifesaver when you make bad decisions. And I'm quite good at those. If you run in Leroy Jenkins style, you will die. No 2 ways about it. I've been recommending Nioh on PC to everyone at this point, because I just want to see how people cope with it. Now, if you've got a stealthy bone in your body, you should get through all right. If you're cautious with it, you should be all right. You were going to say?
I've just looked up Nioh on... I was looking it up, and it's come up the complete edition. Is that the one you're referring to?
Yes. So they started off with, on PS4, it was regular Nioh. And then they released like a season pass and a couple of DLC packs. When it came to PC, I believe that you might have had the standard edition, but they binned it off for the complete edition and they don't sell the standard anymore.
Yeah. I'll just say I've found Nioh's currently on offer on the PS4 store for $7.99.
You can get it on PC for about 15 quid if you shop about. So you can redeem it on Steam.
£40.
You can, if you go to places like CD Keys or allkeyshop.com, I guarantee you'll find it for about £15.
Yeah.
And for me personally, I think it's a fucking fantastic game. Don't get frustrated. Like I said, Divine got wiped out 80 times before he did that first boss. When I cleared that first boss, I was on death 7. So depending on how you play will dictate how hard it's going to be. Mine and Divine's playstyles are completely different. Completely different. He uses different weapons to me, different armor classes to me. He's got completely different strats with dealing with certain enemies. He does tend to focus on using bows and arrows more than I do. You know, he's a lot more conservative when it comes to using his special attacks and stuff. So he tends to like sit on his special attack where he could have used it to save his ass many a time. But it's really, really fun. Really fun. It's not like something you have to really go big brain on to strategize. But if you don't mind a slower paced game, this is it. Once you get good at it, and you learn where the enemies are going to be, you can just steamroll it. You can just run and run and run. I mean, I can do the first stage in 15 minutes. I launched it up on the PlayStation 5 today and just fucking steamrolled my way up to the boss until I was like, oh, I've played this on PC, I've got the groove, and then the guy just slapped me and my head came off and I was like, yep, better rethink that. You know, I'm gonna have to gear up a bit. But yeah, it's really fun. I say slower paced. It's faster than Souls. It's much faster than, say, Demon Souls or Dark Souls. But it's not as fast as, say, I don't know, Call of Duty.
Yeah. Well, Call of Duty is, well, it's just run, shoot, run, shoot. Oh, enemies be spawning. Keep running. Woo, shoot, yes. We'll pretend to be realistic. Yay.
Also, speaking of, I've also played, because we'd normally bin this off over to you, Ram, but I've also played Zero Caliber. Have you played any more of it since your last?
Yes.
Any updates?
Regards.
Well, you were saying how you didn't like the way that enemies spawned in. They don't.
I'm still not a great fan. I know why you do it. I'm still not a great fan. That sort of that tweaks my. It makes it feel more Call of Duty than shooter, but I've still enjoyed it. I've played it a bit more. I've gone back to some levels, replayed them again. I do enjoy it. Yeah, so I enjoyed the game. I did make a mistake that you pointed out messaged me over the other day, where I was talking about a controversy over the fact they downgrade the graphics, and I mixed that with Onward.
Yes. There have been complaints because the Quest version has been updated and the PC version didn't for a long time. I got my wires crossed on that one because I actually think I spoke about Onward getting part of last year. I think I might have referenced the exact same controversy. Yeah. And completely then merged them together because it basically your choice when it came to sort of like was Onward or Zero Caliber. Yeah. So I might have got the two mixed up, but yeah, no, I've really enjoyed it. How well have you been thinking of it? Right, well, it's by the same guys who did ATEC Cybernetic, which means that the writing in it is absolutely fucking atrocious.
Oh, yeah, you just ignore that completely.
It's basically early 2000s, and I mean like really early 2000s B-grade shooter. It's like your intern has been writing the script. Mechanically, it's okay. AI isn't particularly smart. They do tend to bum rush you. The enemies do not spawn until you push forwards. There's a set number of them. It just feels like they keep spawning in until you push forwards. It's just because they all spawn from the same set locations. But there is a set number of them, and you can cheese it quite badly if you know where they're coming from. Because you can run to a safe spot, and then as you see them come out, you can pop them. They'll even spawn in behind you, and you can just turn around and just shoot them in the face.
So no, if you do get to a stage, they will stop spawning.
You'd have to run right past them.
You do, but they will stop spawning.
Well, yeah, because you've cleared the checkpoint, you've cleared the zone.
Yeah.
But that's just shortcutting it, because it's just gone on to the next scripted event.
Yeah.
Whereas if you actually just stand there and keep shooting them, they do run out. They do stop. They don't just keep going until you move forwards. You can stand in one place and just pop people with a pistol all day, and they will stop. Let's see. I don't like the gunplay too much in it, but that's just because I've got a duffer eye. So the my weapon of choice has just been a pistol.
Oh, really?
Near enough the entire time. I just take my pistol, aim down the sight, done. If I have to do two hands in a shooter in VR, I don't get on with it at all.
No.
Because of how I'd have to look down the sight.
Yeah, because I see.
Because I'm right-handed, but I can only see out my left eye.
Have you tried? I mean, I know you're obviously right-handed. Have you tried? Because you can switch it.
So
you can use your weapons left-handed.
I can, however, I also have nerve damage down my left side. So, which is why if you ever see me play a shooter on PC, after the couple-hour mark, if I'm on mouse and keyboard, you'll start to see my characters kind of occasionally strafe. So I'm on an optical switch keyboard, so there's no kind of physical click to say when I'm pressing the button, so I can't just rest my fingers on them. Rest my fingers on the keys. You will occasionally see over time, just my character will start to strafe either left or right because of where my hands have started to go a bit funny. So I can't actually. It's really awkward for me to do things with my left hand, like pull a trigger or whatever. It just feels really uncomfortable. I can do it because I did it in the killing floor. I would just because it's VR, it's not like I'm firing a real fucking gun. I'd rather just bin the assault rifle off or whatever, and then just take the SMG, set it to one shot, single shot, or just take a handgun and just bit bastards. Hold a clip in one hand, the pistol in the other, release the clip, and then slap a fresh one in and cock it, and then just get back to shooting. So my accuracy is a lot higher that way too.
Yeah, I tend to run most of my guns single shot as well. So otherwise you burn through ammunition so quickly.
Yeah, spray and play is really awkward as well because the way the recoil and all that. That and
you can fire. You can fire all the weapons one-handed, but actually the bigger ones, the sniper rifle, you fire them one-handed, they fly at your hands.
Yeah, the kickback comes in and they just kind of derp everywhere.
Yeah.
Plus, the way that the way that the game works in VR too is that if you catch the weapon on something, your wrists snap.
Yeah.
And all that kind of stuff. You can also see how some of the reload animations are expecting you to have the gun in your left hand, because the way the other arm kind of bends over and snaps around the gun to try and cock it or whatever. It's really really janky, but I just use my pistol. It works. Same as when we played the zombie stand in place.
Oh, did we talk about that one? Propagation? What was it called? Propagation?
I can't remember now off the top of my head, but that was great. The spiders, that was beautiful. Because I did that again another time. Because I was like, I'm sure I'm not this bad of a shot, and I did the whole thing with my pistol.
Yeah, the shotgun was rubbish in that. Yeah. Propagation VR, yeah.
You've got the same trick in A-Tech and Propagation and Zero Caliber, where literally you can, if you hold the gun up around your chin, around chin level, and then point it as if you are looking at the barrel of the gun, you're looking at where the bullet's about to come out. You don't point it at your face, you point it forwards, so you're holding it in parallel to your face. You effectively headshot people as they get up close to you. Games are because the enemies always come at you head on, so you're guaranteed to get a headshot. So rather than panic, just point it forwards from your chin, and you've just... I mean, in real life, you'd get a fucking gun to the throat because of the recoil. Yeah. But because it's VR, there is no recoil, so you've just kind of got yourself a free headshot. It's solid. Like I said, if you're okay with their gunplay, Apex Cybernetic is more of the same, but in a Doom style and terribly, terribly written.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, to be honest, if you follow the story, in order, it doesn't make any sense at all.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, okay, why am I in Chicago now? Mm-hmm. Oh right, okay. Oh, I'm here. Okay, yeah. This doesn't. It's like you can just see that they've had an idea of what maps they want, and then they've had to try and figure out a story around them.
Yeah.
And so the missions are so different. There's like one mission which is like, it takes about half hour, 40 minutes to get through. There's one that takes about 10 minutes. Mm-hmm. They're so variable. And there's literally one mission where literally your mission is you go down like one set of stairs to like a room with a load of boxes with a load of like containers in it, then across a bridge, and then you're at the end. And there's like one where it's like, you're fighting through like sort of this like village, and then you've got to take another enemy down. They've got to defend this place and so forth. They're so different in their lengths.
Mm-hmm. It's very late 90s shooter, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
The kind of stuff we used to get before Modern Warfare. I keep saying that, but shooters really improved when Call of Duty 4 dropped. Call of Duty 4, Halo, that's when stories started to get quite tight and mechanics were... We found a formula for shooter mechanics. A control scheme that worked, gunplay that worked. We cracked the formula. A lot of VR shooters, as I've explained to a lot of people of late, is that VR is currently in the kind of Atari days still. We haven't quite figured out how this stuff is supposed to work yet. And because the big boys that have the money to invest in good writers aren't really playing yet,
no.
All we have is geezers that are like, well, we know what we want, but we're shit at writing, so...
Yeah. I didn't like the way that in Zero Combat that your grab is your grab for your magazine is your trigger.
Yeah.
Rather than most of which is it's your grab button. The amount of times I've gone down to pull a magazine out and I've just like pushed the one button because I just instinctively pressed the grab key to grab it. It's like, why would you do that?
Mm-hmm.
And the grenades, the amount of times I used to throw a grenade, and if you've got a grenade in your hand and you're holding it, the sort of like hot point to grab the grenade out of the hand to the other hand, as opposed to pull the pin, is so close. The amount of times that I would grab a grenade, if I've pulled the pin, I've actually just picked the grenade up in my other hand.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, well...
I've never once thrown a grenade in that game outside of the tutorial.
Yeah, I mean, they can be useful. Right, in certain situations, they can be useful. They are a bit fiddly. In my mind, what they should have done was, and it's something that could fix so easily. It's like if grenade is held, your only choice is to pull the pin or put it back.
Sure,
that's it. You don't
unless you actually manually use the release to catch it with the other hand.
Whilst you're holding it, no, we disable the ability to pick up the other hand.
Yeah.
And also, if you're slightly too close to your chest, you'll put it back on your chest rather than pull the pin and throw it.
Just drop it on the floor,
Yeah, so...
I mean, don't get me wrong, they're fine games, just, to me, there's so much jank that kind of breaks them for me. But they show you where this stuff can really go. They make me want to have a bigger play space so I can run around and all that kind of stuff. They really do just feel like old school like Medal of Honor games. Or
we should rent a warehouse, Skazz.
We should. We need a warehouse.
We rent a warehouse. We might just got an office bit which we can set up as the studio for brand nerds to justify it.
Mm-hmm.
And the whole bottom level of it will just have as a big open VR space.
That would be great. And I'd never take my VR headset off at that point.
You'd run around, it'd be fine until you got a little bit too close to the wall. Boomf! Every so often I'd be upstairs, like, doing some research sign. All I do is bang! Oh, Skazz onto a wall again.
Yeah. Or we didn't clean up that spill from earlier. It's just slipped over and knocked himself out again.
Yeah. He side-strafed way too much then.
Just a tad. Side straight out the window. But no, I mean it's fun. It's got just the right amount of ATEX cybernetic jank, and it's awkward as hell to stream. The difficulty curve seems to go up as you go. Like, you know, at one point it's okay, and then the next level, all of a sudden you just get swamped. You're out in the open and you get swamped. That's a bit.
If its cover is if you're out in the open, you are unless you're quick to get behind some cover, or you're really quick on the shot on the draw to shoot back.
You know the level where you got the tanks. Now, they've got anti-tank whatever. We can't move forward. Off you go.
You're crossing no man's land.
Yeah. Fucking ball ache. And then you go down the little bits at the sides, but there's like 50 bazillion enemies there, and you're like.
Yeah.
Okay. And my squad is like 5 miles back. I'm like, guys.
Your squad is fucking terrible. They're absolutely shit.
Sometimes they do their job, and other times they're just like, oh mate, we're just having a cup of tea. See you in a bit.
You're sitting there, you're like, where's everybody? You look back and there's like 4 little green dots. It's like, why aren't you here? I'm here. Why aren't you here? You've not got to the next checkpoint yet. We won't come up. But help. Help me.
I had that many a time. I was like crouched behind a bin, and I'm like, fucking hell, I'm getting mobbed, lads. And I look behind, I'm like, lads?
Where the fuck are you?
And they're like all the way over in the last area. I'm like, guys, move up. Hello.
Yeah. It needs some. If they could implement some sort of squad control in it,
yeah,
that'd be amazing.
Like call to where you are, or
that's what it needs. Call to where I am, advance forwards to death.
Get in there, lads. Cannon fodder style.
Yeah. No, I mean, I said I agree with all your points. Actually, the story is absolutely cack. I didn't just after I just didn't listen to it at all. It's like, oh well, I'm in this random place. I just need to go shoot things. Okay then. Other than that, though, I just saw I personally found it just quite. I found it quite fun just running around and trying to. I think it'd be a lot funner with other people.
Sure.
Rather than if there's other you can cover each other, give each other covering fire while you're advancing, so forth, and you actually have smart people with you.
The trouble is though, the multiplayer's only in beta, isn't it? I think it says that in the multiplayer section. It's still only in beta. Can I just tell you as well? The interface for the map is fucking terrible.
Yes, it is.
Trying to figure out, like, wait, is that the mission that I'm doing? And the skulls don't represent difficulty. They represent how sick you're going to get by running around. I'm like, okay, cool. I get that.
Yeah.
Nice.
I like the but you're right. It doesn't like because it's like okay, so there's a tick, which means I must have done the mission. Now somebody's got triangles in them. This one's got a triangle that's just an outline, so that must mean that's the next one to do. Yeah. It's like, this doesn't make any sense.
And there's like 10 stages per, or 10 extra missions per stage or whatever.
Yeah.
Because I went all the way past, like, so I was, 1 minute I'm on the outskirts of town, then I've gone through town, then I'm at a water treatment plant, now I'm having to fight my way across no man's land, yet that's still the same stage.
Yeah.
Apparently. But it's a different chapter on that stage, but that isn't shown easily on the map.
No.
So
I like the mechanic of, unlock as you get ranked, unlocking stuff, and you actually sort of customize your own like whole setup and stuff, weapon and stuff. I like that, like being able to sort of tweak your own weapon to how you want. I quite like that.
Yeah. I've only used my pistol, so
yeah.
all that's got on it is stuff that I found on the street.
Have you not even had the joy of the P90 yet?
No, I haven't seen it yet.
That's from when I played it. It's like the second mission had the P90 in it.
I haven't actually finished the first mission because it's still doing. I'm still at no man's land, getting through the tank bit.
That's interesting. 'Cause that wasn't the first mission for me.
Interesting.
First mission for me, I was like in a basically in a like sort of village area.
Yeah. See, I've done that, but I've not seen a P90 yet.
Oh no, the P9. The next mission after that was I went to the Arctic. I went to a research base. And there's a P90 there.
Research base in the Arctic.
Yeah, or a weather station or some sort of like scientific outbase.
So you go through the village. That takes you through a set of warehouses, which then take you through a town, which then take you through like a factory district.
Yeah, are we playing the same game? Because that's not how it played for me. I got there, went to the next mission, and it got to the bit where it says, right, you've completed this mission. Do you want to go to the next one? Yes. And it said, oh, right, we're sending you to the Arctic.
Nope, I haven't had that. And then after I did
Do you think they're randomly picking the missions?
Fucked if I know, son, because I did that bit, and then it said, right, well, we've just, cleared through the town. We've just met up with the rebels. The rebels have told us to fuck off in their terribly red lines and their terribly red dialogue. Now you have to find... You found the scientist who's popped himself.
Nope, not found him.
Yeah, that's right at the start, dude. No wonder it doesn't make any sense to you.
But
I haven't gone back to that main map room yet.
How weird!
I've never been sent back to it.
But I literally went. So you do the training mission, then you go into the sort of the village where you start with. You have to sort of raid a house with radio operators, and there's that bit where you have to get a sniper rifle and sort of cover your team, and then you have to go into another warehouse where you find where are they getting this water from?
Yeah.
Get that. You then get then it goes, oh well done, you've completed this section. Do you want to go to your next mission? Next mission, I'm in the Arctic.
Weird. That took me to a town.
I wonder. That's very weird.
I went through the canyon to a town, to the water treatment plant where the explosion went off.
No, I literally just said I got there and I got a menu up saying, "Yep, you've done this mission now. Do you want to go to? Here's your stats to the mission. Do you want to go to the next one? Yeah, okay."
Yeah, it's giving you a different. That's giving you a different set of missions, dude.
Hey, it must be randomly picking them.
That can't be. Well, no, it can't be because I've done it both on my laptop and my PC.
How bizarre.
Because if I go back to I went back to the main map and I was like, I can't tell where I'm supposed to go because nothing's got a tick or whatever. There's the tutorial, and so I did the tutorial again, and then it took me back to the missions I was doing. And it turns out that it was like one of the one skull missions, but it had like 1 billion chapters. However, where I failed and I died, and then the game crashed, it decided that it was going to skip the chapter that I died on as if I'd finished it, and moved me to the next area where I get airdropped with my team to somewhere, which I didn't catch because I hadn't finished that last section.
Well, I've been airdropped on top of a water purifier plant. I've been airdropped on top of that, and I had to go down. You have to go downstairs on the cliffside. I've done that one.
Yes, I haven't done that.
That's bizarre.
I haven't done that. What I think we're going to have to do, Ram, is we're going to have to start again. And then kind of list where we go in order. We'll map sarcastic air quotes what we did and where we did it and how we did it. Like describe the levels because
it's like mine's bugged out.
I was going to say I haven't done half of the stuff that you're talking about.
I mean,
I've streamed it twice.
On the map, I think I've got 2 missions left to do on the map.
I see, I've never gone back to the map. It's never sent me back to the map, and none of my missions have ticks on them, other than the tutorial.
Very weird.
So, because if you look on the actual map, if you pick one, the one that looks like the next logical one to do, that's a completely separate mission. That's just like a standalone mission, where it's like, oh yeah, here's another squad you have to fight, go do that. It doesn't seem to relate.
When I went to the Arctic, I thought it seemed a bit of a jump.
Yeah, so I think you've just gone and been doing random missions.
It must have bugged out, because honestly, I literally said next mission. It's like, well, why am I here? Okay, then.
Yeah,
fair enough.
So if you go back to the map, it's usually the first one. I
didn't go back to... I went...
No, but if you go back to the map...
Yeah.
If you go back to the map, you'll find that the one with all of the story on it is like the bottom leftmost thing that isn't the tutorial. Or it might even be the tutorial one, and you can just skip forwards left and right in the UI to say which chapter you want to do. And there's fucking tons of them.
Oh, blimey.
Yeah,
How
so
bizarre.
I've streamed them, so I'll link you to a video of some of the bits that I've done. I'm fucking terrible at it though, but
have you tried using the guns with laser sights?
I have put a laser sight on my pistol. It's all right. I mean, I get headshots from a distance with my pistol anyway. The thing is with VR shooters, just like regular shooters, it's just center screen and click. Once you figure out roughly where you have to hold your hand to get roughly in the center, you just kind of look in that general way and kind of arc your arm a bit with your body. If you get what I mean, like you kind of hook round. So if you're following through with a punch, shoot, bam, headshot, done. That's something I learnt with ATEC Cybernetic, is that, VR is really easy to cheese. Shooters in VR aren't as realistic as people seem to make out they are.
No.
But look, just like a regular handgun, you don't have to look down sights to hit a target. Once you learn, once you've got your ankles down, you can pretty much suss it. Yeah. Well, kind of like what you said, how a trained soldier will figure out kind of where he has to hold it and what angle he has to hold it to get the thing to do what he wants to do anyway. Same in VR. I've had very little issue, or it doesn't take me long to get used to how a gun works in VR. But yeah, I've put like laser sights on things, I've put scopes on things, but realistically, I don't use them. I don't use them that much. And as I say, like I've not used many of the other guns either, because I have so much trouble just properly using them. It feels really stupid to have a fucking massive assault rifle in one hand. Yeah. So I just don't bother with it. And if I can't see properly with it, I'm not gonna use it. But yeah, it's an alright game.
Yeah.
Just needs polish, a lot of it. Get some voice actors.
Yeah.
Please, not just people you pulled off the streets.
Yeah, and not just this all general, I'm the big military boss, I'm going to make really bad analogies.
Well, so I loved it when we met up with the rebels, like outside of some random place. And it's like, yeah, what have you done for us? Fuck off. And I'm like, wow, okay, cool. Nice. I just said I was coming here to meet up with you guys to help you guys, share information. Now you're just being a bitch. You're lucky I haven't shot you in the face yet. But, fucking terrible. Like, Gary might be a good coder or a decent modeler, but he can't read for shit.
Yeah.
It's it's all right. It's like a 15 quid game or whatever, as most VR games are.
Yeah.
The really polished ones are the ones that cost 40, 50 quid that no fucker plays.
Yeah.
Because there aren't that many, are there? Medal of Honor's just come out on Quest. That was out on PC. Half-Life Alyx. Resident Evil 4. Lone Echo. That's not a shooter. We're still finding our feet.
We're still figuring our way out through VR. VR is not there yet. It's still figuring its way out.
Yeah, I still think VR is more a social platform than anything else. But it's fun. It's neat. It's a fun game.
Cool. Well, I've also been playing VR.
Oh, what have you been playing now? Have I played it too? Come on, let's go. What is it?
I strongly doubt you'll play this game because it's not your sort of game.
Go on.
I've been playing Budget Cuts.
Budget Cuts?
Which is a stealth VR game. It's one of the early VR games from 2018. So
Stealth Budget Cuts?
Game's called Budget Cuts.
So what you're saying is, mate, you're an assassin, or you're a politician.
No.
You're kind of just stealthily whisking away that that extra stack of cash into your back pocket.
Neither. Neither. You are so it's one of the early sort of it's sort of one of the first sort of reasonably well done VR games that were still the early stage of us. So it's 2018, but it was built for VR from the ground up. It was always been a VR game, but feels a certain degree of this has been actually sort of done properly.
Okay.
It's still a bit. Obviously, it shows its age somewhat now because it was on the time when people thought like teleportation was the only way you should move in VR.
Oh, don't! I hate teleportation. It makes me feel terrible.
So the game is a teleporter style game where you teleport around. So it's set in an office. and you are working there. You are human. You're working there, and although most of your co-workers are now robots, and you hear stories that all the humans are getting basically every so often get sort of like have to go to HR, and once they're at HR, you never see them again. They disappear. So they're like being sacked or fired, as all being replaced by more robots. So you basically get a phone call from this person called Winter. She says, "Oh, look, they're coming. They've come for the others. They're coming for you next. You need to get out. There's a box on your desk, which you can open up. There's a key. Look for the cover. I'll send you a note. Actually, you contact our phone, which is like a fax machine as well. So she faxes you instructions, which you obviously can pick up, but you can put them in your inventory and look at them and so forth. So what you need to get out and open the box up, and they'll help you. So the first thing you do is you open this box up, and it's got the translocator in it.
Okay.
Which you basically is your teleport. And that's how you move around. So you aim, you know that teleport works. Its neat little trick that it does is when you throw the translocator beam to where it's going to go, you don't actually teleport immediately. What happens is you basically your gun will show you like a little circle, like a camera from where the teleport has ended up. And so you can actually look round, rotate yourself round, look round. You can look round where it is and see. Like if it's clear, you can use it to scout areas out. You can use it to look for enemies and so forth.
You can effectively pull it back if you need to, or
yeah, you can basically cancel it or push the trigger again, and you'll go there.
sure.
Which is handy.
Because other games have had that kind of thing where you go to throw your teleport, and then you can change which way you're going to look based on how you hold the stick or whatever. So it's not.
Yeah.
It's kind of like that, but not more advanced.
A bit more advanced because you actually have a camera. And that's important because you're trying to stealth around it. You might be able to see an enemy. Now, enemies can see your teleport beacon, as it were. They can see it. And if you teleport in front of them, if you like shoot your bazooka in front of them, even if you haven't teleported, they'll look at you and they'll see and they'll react to you as if you're there. But if they attack it or shoot it, whatever, it just disappears. You don't die. It just disappears.
Okay, that's
but
neat.
Then they'll be alerted. So you can't like sort of like watch where enemies are because they will react to it. So you have to be somewhat little plan. You have to still plan in that regards. But you basically have that. You also have a tool. You also have a magnifying glass, which helps you read documents. Basically makes the text bigger, which helps you. Bear in mind, this is around when the first generation Rift was about, so it wasn't very high resolution. So you kind of needed that to make it easier to read what things were.
Or a lens mod. I've found that those help a lot.
Yeah. I've also found a site on site we can now buy prescription lenses for your VR headsets as well.
Beautiful.
But yeah, so you do that, and so basically you can look it up, or you can so you can look at what that marathon glass, which I didn't find out until the last level, second to last level, was if you put it over an enemy, it'll like scan them, and then once it scanned them, then they show up on the map all the time, so you can see where they are through walls.
So you've marked them effectively.
Yeah, but it doesn't tell you this at any point in the game.
Oh.
As this is a bit of a bad habit it has, is that it doesn't tell you can do these things. So why I had a magnifying glass, my logic is I'm only going to look at things with it. I'm not going to think to look at an enemy with it, because why would I? I don't care about that. Sure. So I was only felt like sheer luck on the last level. And also, it's got what's quite neat is it's got most levels have this place called Lost and Found, where by one of the robots. If you drop something that you might need, it gets teleported to Lost and Found if you leave it behind somewhere.
Oh, neat.
So you can go to Lost and Found and pick it all up. So basically, you have like there's four types of robots actually. You've got these very basic, these little vacuum cleaner robots. They don't bother you at all. They're just there. They're harmless. I did accidentally kill one.
How could you?
Because your weapons are throwing knives, and throwing knives is basically impossible. Well, at least I tried all sorts of tricks.
I'm terrible at throwing in VR.
Yeah. So you see, I got quite good at throwing what was it game? Killing Floor Incursion. I got really good at throwing things in that because that was fine. As long as you did a full-on right angle, 90-degree straight throw next to you, didn't try and angle it, you'd throw basically dead center of the screen. But like you're saying with the pistol, as long as you moved your arm literally straight line next to you, you'd throw it dead center. If you
Like
angle, try to
look from
angle
your
it,
nose forwards and look, kind of like, just flick your arm.
Parallel, yeah,
Yeah.
parallel from your nose forwards.
Yep.
You throw dead center screen, spot on, fine. This
I
game's
wonder if that's because we're actually using inside-out tracking on our headsets.
could be.
Because you got to think, if we're thrown over the head at some point, the starting point of our throw is going to be behind. It's going to be over and behind our cameras, isn't it? But if we had CV1s or Vives or Indexes where they're using the room track, and well, it doesn't matter if we stick our arm right behind our back. It's still going to know where our hand is.
Maybe. Possibly. Yeah. Quite possibly. So yeah. I couldn't get the hang of throwing knives. I did have one issue where, so the two issues I had with throwing knives. One, the first time I was practicing them, I threw it. I throw it. So you have to really to make them go far, which is quite realistic. You have to really throw it thrust with your hand to make them go far. And the first time I did it, I threw it at such a short, shallow arc. It went sort of through the air, went straight down, and straight into one of these little robot vacuum cleaners.
See, I found a way to cheat that.
What?
So it's not actually measuring realistically how far you're moving it, or how hard you're moving it. It's how quick you move over a distance. So if you just do a short jab, because we're using inside-out tracking again, it's not really calculating distance. It's calculating how fast you're moving between the point that you hold the button to throw and the point that you let go. So if you only do, say, like a 3-inch fucking jab forwards from in front of your face, you let go, that thing's going to fly a mile.
I did try that. It didn't work very well.
I said that's usually how I get away with throwing in VR, unless I'm using base station tracking.
Yeah, I didn't really do much throwing, to be honest. After I killed the robot, I was like, oh no! Smashed my headset, so I literally put my tracker on. I went, no!
So you smack yourself in the face with the ring on your controller.
I didn't mean to, because I didn't even see the cleaning robot there. I just threw it, and it arced down. I hit the floor. I just hit the screaming. I looked down, and there's this little robot there who happened to come in the cupboard with me. He's like,
you evil bastard.
Yeah, oops. So I was like, I saw picked up, like, oh, he's actually dead. Oops. You then have your little co-worker robots who are like sort of bulbous-headed round things that sit there. They always just turn the computers. And they all sit. Then as you walk around, they all just say very sort of catchphrase stuff like, "I love working." Oh, thank goodness it's Monday. It's not get really sarcastic. It's thank goodness it's Monday, and they're always constantly chattering away, gnashing away.
Bless them.
Which is quite fun. And then you get the supervisors. And the company has employed military-grade robots for the supervisors.
Beautiful.
And these are the ones that walk around. They have a scene there. They are the ones there who are armed. And if they see you, they'll put out the pistol. Now, they've only got a single eye, so they miss quite a lot. But you can, quite coolly, if you get behind them, you can pull the pistol off their belt.
Oh, neat.
Yeah, but by default, if you try, the pistol's got like an hijack feature. If you pull it off, it'll like sort of shock you.
Oh, neat.
If you try and use it, but you can sort of throw it away. If you drop it on the ground, they will go pick it back up.
Oh, cool.
But yeah, I did sort of like teleport behind a supervisor and pull off their belt. It's like, haha, you can't shoot me now. Oh shit, you're coming. You're going to punch me. Right, run away. Where's the pistol? Oh, I dropped it. Oh shit, she's picking it back up again. Oh no,
I've been shot.
Yeah, and it is like if you get shot, there's no health bar. You shot, you're gone. Dead.
Sure.
Over. Which works fine because of the nature of the beast. So they certify that they are they are the main antagonist you'll face sort of like sneaking past. And you can generally hear they tend to chatter quite a lot. They're pretty, and they work on the usual what you see. Obviously, if they first spot you, they'll have like their eye will go sort of this yellow color, and you'll see there's like a little progress bar goes round it. It takes about a second and a half to activate, 2 seconds maybe.
Yeah, and
that's when I like sort of like go there. What's that over there? And then if you wait too long, then it goes red, and that's when they sort of then come after you.
Mm-hmm.
And once they've gone red, it's unless you've got somewhere to hide, it's pretty hard. However, the game does help you out by make it so that if you're in a dark area, they can't see you, so you can hide in the dark. And it does also do things like there's like loads of vents all around which you can like sort of like shoot through, and you're going to like sort of full sort of like the utility vents of the building. You can hide in there, because you can't shoot through that. There is something to be said there, which is quite fun, where you pin yourself up against a door, but throw it with a knife in your hand, and you throw a little teleport spear to distract the guards coming to the room. And as you walk into the room, you just literally sort of cancel it and just stab him in the neck
Mate,
as he walk through.
you savage.
Yeah, I did find myself in real life actually pinning myself up against the wall, like I was doing.
Mate,
I
I can just imagine like your mum, your dad, or your sister walking into the room and you just punch them in the throat or something as you're pressed against a wall.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's made my day.
Yeah. If you go him in the neck, it's instant kill for the supervisors. So the other way to do it is you teleport literally behind them and if you teleport near them, they know you're there.
All right.
You can't sort of sneak up on them, but if you're quick, you can just cut their head off anyway. So it doesn't matter.
Sure.
I mean, they generally the only thing you can use to kill them, this is what I found, was scissors. Which you can use, which you can also pull. You can pull scissors back out of them once you take them, but they get mangled between uses.
Okay.
Or if there's like the winter, has tried to help you out. She's managed to order a load of air quotes here letter openers,
right,
for you to use, which are basically throwing knives. She's very kindly ordered it and sort of got them sent around. They actually get distributed across the whole building, i.e., you'll find them in every level if you want to.
Okay.
So you can find, but there's usually only a couple, so you can't really go on a main death murder man page type thing very easily unless you can find a stash of them.
Oh, I'll find a way.
Well, ironically, it gets easier later on because they think you're going to be more fighting. They give you more knives. It gets easier later on, but some of the early levels there's only like 2 knives, and that's all you got.
Sure.
Your little inventory can only hold like 6 items. One of which will be a pager, which is how she contacts you. She'll basically message you a number.
Okay.
Jimmy wants to let us know he just managed to get his 11k souls back, which he had in a difficult to find place.
Good man.
But yeah, so basically she'll basically every so often you'll get a message a new number, and you'll go up to the factory, pick the phone, and dial the number, and she'll give you next day mission, print stuff out.
Do you walk past the fax machine? All of a sudden it starts going, oh, hello. Winter says...
No, you have to ring her.
Mate.
Yeah, you have to ring her. She pays you the number, and then you have to go ring her. Yeah. But yeah, it was really fun. It's I found it really good fun. I was sort of sneaking around, sort of planning it. There are several bits later on when you do find like there's a bit we have to break into a vault, and I did spend a lot of time planning how I was going to do it. Like, okay, we'll switch these lights off here. I can there's a fire alarm, there's a fire drill room, and then where's that? Oh, that's in that office there. If I can find a way to get into the office, because it's got a level 5 card, I've only got a level 4 card. If I can find a way to get into the office, I can then take out the robot, trip the fire alarm, they'll go to the farm, which means I can get into the vault very quickly and steal what I need to steal, get out before they all come back.
Is this does this have like multiple ways to solve every puzzle, or is it really quite linear?
There are some puzzles a lot of the puzzles are some of the levels are fairly linear.
Okay.
There's probably multiple ways around them, but then they're fairly compact.
Okay.
So it's not a great deal of things. There's only a few bits. There's the main source. The vault is one way you can sort of figure out alternative ways around it. And as the last level, where you sort of fight the boss, who is unkillable, there is a way to deal with him that basically takes him out of action, where you don't have to, but you have to really sort of plan ahead, and you need to find the right bit of the place you can do it.
Yeah.
If you find it, you can basically trick him and take him out of action so he can't get to you anymore.
Mm-hmm.
There's also clues that you can tell actually. There's also a progression as it got further along, as the levels got a bit more complicated, and also as they started putting little clues down, like well, by the way, there's this issue. This sort of like control circuitry here. Yeah, watch out, if you do this wrong, it'll have errors on it. It will, and it could lock something down. So you must be careful with it.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can use that information to set up traps and so forth. I wouldn't say it's particularly, but I wouldn't say it's like. There's not a great deal of replayability, I put it that way. You're not going to go through and try and find an alternative way round.
Okay.
They're not big spawning levels. They're fairly compact.
Sure.
But it's still, I found it really good fun. Sort of see about that has got one issue which I did kind of get used to is that it's got vents which are quite small. You have to actually crouch down to get in them. So if you throw your thing in them, but you're too high up, you'll get like an error saying you can't teleport there.
Yeah.
So you have to actually crouch down, and then I mean when I say crouch, I mean on your knees, crouch down,
Yeah.
and then you can teleport into them, and then you can move around the vent
Makes sense.
and so forth. Makes sense, yeah. That's all. That takes a little bit of like, because you can't teleport there until you crouch down. If you need to get up there quickly, you have to sort of like, oh shit, all right, get down here quickly. Oh, I'll teleport now. Fine, safe.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, really neat game. There's a budget. They've released Budget Cuts 2, which I'm going to pick up, and which is sort of a direct sequel to this one, where the game ends on a not on quite a cliffhanger, but ends on a where you're going to go next type thing.
Yeah.
I'm going to pick that up as well. It's got an arcade mode they added in, where if you basically you can play like levels, which are just like you just got to like rather than actually like part of the story, you've got a set goal to achieve. Like sort of like find some office documents and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So they had those, they had a bit more sort of like more stuff to do. So it's fairly fun. I mean, the main story, typical VR game, takes about 4 to 5 hours probably to get it through.
That's about fair. I mean, in
yeah.
honesty, there are a lot. I know we mentioned like VR game length in the last couple of episodes. Thinking about it, actually, a lot of AAA games, like regular flat screen games, only last 4 to 6 hours now.
Yeah, a lot now. Yeah.
So it's pretty good, really.
Yeah, no, it's definitely my sort of game. I think you'd hate it if I'm honest.
Fair enough.
But yeah, I'd absolutely grateful. So I can't. Well, I'm going to pick up the sequel, and hopefully, from what I understand, the sequel is more actionized. You can actually pick, from what I understand, you can actually get guns and stuff in the sequel. Oh, you can also add mutators. You can actually switch on mutators for the enemies and stuff.
Right.
So you can do things like you can say, "Oh, I can pick up guns and I can use them," and also add up mutators that like give you like infinite ammo and stuff.
I can insta-gib some fucker with a pair of scissors.
Yeah, I don't know if there's one for that, but there's lots of lot of mutations you can do. Most of those disable achievements.
Okay, yeah. Well, that makes sense.
Yeah, but it's something to be said because it tricks that idea of like sort of like working around, planning out a route, planning what you want to do, and then when you execute it, and all goes horribly wrong. You can like sort of like, okay, well I'll trick and let's execute it flawlessly, and it's like you feel like a stealth god. Forget all the 20 other times where you died horribly because you misjudged or didn't see an enemy.
Sure. First try, every time.
First try. Yeah, it's always first try. Yeah, I know. I didn't die loads of times in this game, not at all.
First try. That's like if you play Nioh, I guarantee it, you'll get to the end, first try.
Yeah.
No deaths, first try.
No, set it all out. Edit those all out.
First try.
No deaths. Boring, yeah.
Get it done.
Yeah. That's budget cuts. Also, I'll just briefly talk about a couple of series. Well, one's a series, one's a film.
Right.
Watching. So I finally got round to watching HBO's Chernobyl this week. Finally got round to watching it. One of the things I've been meaning to do for a while, and I finally got round to it. And it is really good.
Okay.
I don't know. Have you seen it at all?
I don't know. Maybe.
No. So it's actually, as the name suggests, it's set about Chernobyl. Interestingly, the story kicks off. Dramatically. Directly after the explosions happened. It doesn't show the obvious thing to do would be to show this sort of like them doing yeah. That'd be the obvious thing. No, this starts directly literally as the explosion happens, and they basically sort of open questions, and it's all like sort of there, and all the characters in it, they're all it's partly British productions. They're all speaking with British accents. They were going to do Russian accents, but they decided that just sounded silly. Trying to convince all the British actors to do Russian accents, they said just doing British accents is fine. And you'll see a lot of familiar faces if you watch a lot of British. You'll see a lot of familiar faces in it. And they basically sort of like the reactors exploded. They don't quite believe why it's exploded because RBMK wires can't explode. And so they sort of spend the first episode sort of like denying it's going on. In the like main guy, because the thing is, this is all mostly based on real events. There's a bit of artistic license in it, which I do sort of highlight somewhat. But it's pretty fair. It's based on both the official reports of events, and also there's a book called Voices of Chernobyl, which talks about, which is like the people who got involved, and it's based a lot of the sort of like other plots are based around them. So a lot of people involved in the actual like sort of civilians involved, and people who like sort of saw the reactors and went there and got exposed like to lethal doses of radiation within a few minutes of being there. Because it doesn't pull its punches, and it is like, God, you watch the thing, God, this actually happened.
Well, yeah, it was a proper
Horrible.
fucking disaster. Had it
Yeah,
have
it
not been
was.
contained sooner, or had it have
Well-
not been contained when it was contained, things could have been a lot worse.
Oh yeah, I've always found an interest in nuclear has always interested me, and so I knew about Chernobyl. I've known about. What I actually dislike is that a lot of the, if you're ever watching documentaries on them, a lot of them don't tell you actually why. They don't. They simplify down what happened to the point where it doesn't really explain why it happened.
Yeah.
And they'll say, "Oh, the reactor lost power. It was too low for them to do the test. They got the power back up. They started doing the test. It still wasn't high enough for what they needed. They did the test, and then it all goes wrong. But they never explain why it lost all its power. They didn't explain why did it start going back. They miss all that out. A lot of the time, I see explanations like, "Well, that's quite fundamental because it doesn't. You haven't really explained what happened. You've done the sort of general gist."
Yeah.
But once you kind of find out actually what happens, it all makes sense. So I will first say, so watch this, and they do such a good job of dramatizing. The artists like they take is that a lot of people show symptoms of rage way too quickly, but
Sure.
that's acceptable because it's a TV dramatization. It's acceptable because you to sort of like shut off a bit. That's sort of acceptable. The other nod they do, and full credit to them on this, they actually, at the end of the series, they do like a little epilogue bit, and there's this character in it, and she's completely made up for the series. But what they wanted to do was they had the main guy, he had lots of scientists and stuff helping him like research the reactors and so forth. He had like a whole team of people. They didn't want to have like 20 other people there. So they made one character who represented all of them.
Okay.
But they actually, at the very end, they say, this character here, she doesn't exist. These are the people who she represented. Because a lot of series wouldn't bother even telling you that. And people just go out there thinking, oh, she must have been a real person. But it says, no, we made her up.
Yeah.
Just full disclosure, we made her up for this reason. And she basically is all there to sort of like, she basically sort of investigates why it happened. Because the series basically the first sort of 4 episodes are really about what they did immediately to try and solve the problem immediately, their first sort of like containment issues, and working on from there. So sort of like it all jumps from sort of like the first few days, the first few weeks, the first few months after the disaster. You see more about the liquidators and all their work they're doing to try and stop it getting worse. Obviously, the first 2 episodes take place the first few days. They look at like the initial work out what had gone wrong, how bad it was, having to drain all the tanks underneath to prevent another steam explosion. All this stuff going on for this, and this last sort of it's all jump ahead to, okay, it's now months later. These are all the people who are called the liquidators, all the thousands of people they got in to be liquidators who are going to have to go up on the roofs to try and clear all the stuff and put it in. These people could only go on the roofs for like 90 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
And if they went more than that, they basically, if they went there for like 2 minutes, they get like they'd have like a lethal radiation dose. They'd go up there for 90 seconds at a time.
Yeah.
And you're watching them. That bit's amazing because they literally follow the guys up there for the whole 90 seconds. It's just one shot for them the whole time they're up there. And it's just, you just sort of like, the tension it builds is like, oh, come on, how long? Those 9 seconds seems to take hours.
Well, yeah, for sure. Single shots over a long period of time just feel really fucking weird in film anyway, because you're not used to it.
And when you know you've only got 90 seconds to go, it just seems to take forever. It's incredible. Really well shot, really well set up. I mean, some of the more grimmer stuff, like the teams of people who had to go and shoot all the animals because they were full of like radioactive iodine. They had to shoot them all, so couldn't take the radiation outside the containment zone. And they're having to shoot out pets and stuff. And so then bring them all back and encase them in concrete. It's really grim. It is a really grim series, but it's really well done. And so of course it's based on all real events. Episode 5 is more the investigation afterwards, like where they have like the big hearing and so forth. And I don't know who wrote it or who wrote the head source scientist. He has to do an explanation as to what happened. Whoever wrote it, because the sort of speech he gives to the sort of committee didn't actually happen. It didn't actually happen in real life. But whoever wrote it, the explanation they give is so well done. It's so simple, but it doesn't cut away any of the real science. It talks about the stuff that mostly they cut away in the documentaries, but he really explains step by step how this works, why it all went wrong, in a real simple way. It's like, I thought that's one of the best explanations I've ever seen actually done of it. I know I've done research to know how it happened. That's the best way of actually how it happened I've seen. Most documentaries fuck that up.
Well, I suppose because most documentaries only happen over, say, an hour and a half, 2 hour period.
This guy explains it in 20 minutes.
No, but my point is there's a lot of other stuff they have to put into a documentary. They can't just go, right, this is exactly why it happened. You know, that's only a small part of a documentary. You know, the aftermath is a big chunk of it. The lead-in is a big chunk of it. You know, how things were long before then is a big part of it. So they only have a very, 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 very small.
A lot of them, though, concern themselves just for the disaster, and you should put the aftermath as a little bit at the end, like the last couple of minutes. Oh, yeah, it caused this, this, and this. They leave a lot of important stuff. They leave some real key information out. I mean, a lot of it, some of them you can put down to the fact that it says it's probably a case of they're trying to simplify it a bit too much.
Yeah.
Because they talk about xenon poisoning and so forth, which is it's basically a fundamental point of what went wrong. But it's really well done. I was really impressed with how they got that across. They made it anyone could understand that explanation. Lots still thrown in bits in as well. They sort of which made it feel there's like bits where like the actor actually drops some stuff and he picks it back up. And they decided to leave that cut in because it just looked like he was a bit nervous.
Yeah,
for sure. Little things like really well done. So yeah, really. I'm glad I watched it. I don't feel I want to watch it again in a while because it was so grim, but it's worth a watch. Really good. Other film I saw, and this one I'll mention briefly, which isn't quite so realistic, is the Chine Syndrome, which from the 1970s, also about a nuclear accident. Because I've got myself into a nuclear accident thing, and it's about a nuclear reactor. They've got some reporters in who's doing a tour of the reactor. It's all like show about nuclear power and so forth. And they go up to the control room, and just to be able the sort of viewing area of the control room is soundproof and bulletproof.
Beautiful.
For safety reasons. And whilst they're there, they're told they can't film it. But whilst they're there, something happens in the control room, and they can see all the people in the control room panicking. And basically, what happens is there's the reactor. Basically, they read high water levels of the reactor, and they think the reactor's overflow, so they start to drain it. Or the turbines trip off. They think the reactor's got too much water in it, so they start to drain the water off. And this is the correct process to do. They then realise that their little gauge has been telling them how much water's in there. It's got stuck at the top, and when they tap it, the reactor's like really low, and it's about to be exposed. If that happens, you get a meltdown.
Yeah.
So they managed to fix it. They managed to fix it. But in doing so, this guy, the sort of like head of the sort of like in the control room, he realised there's another problem going on.
Mm-hmm.
So that's all the brief intro. I won't go through the whole bit, but basically the guy in the control room eventually realises, and this is spoilers towards the end, and there's only one reason I want to bring this up. He realises there's a major flaw with the design of the plant. Not as much design of the plant, but in the way it's been built. There's been some cost. There's some of the companies they've hired have done a bit of cutting corners.
Yeah,
and
sure.
He discovers there's a fault. So he decides to try and stop the plant going online, and to try and explain, he basically goes back to the sort of like, to the plant, goes back to the control, and he basically takes it over. Steals a guard's gun, forces everybody outside, and he basically takes control, and he basically demands they bring the reporter back, and he does a live TV broadcast where he can explain what's going on.
Yeah.
And this is the bit that made me think of you. Because they get the reporter in, they're about to go live, they're getting everything set up, and then the guy there's the cameraman, and then someone is sound person, and they get the sound person, so put on we're going to use this intercom. Right, so can you start talking so we start doing a level check? Like, bear in mind, they know this, they've got a SWAT team coming in to try and break into this, try and get this guy out. They know there's a SWAT team on the way to take this guy out. I was like, oh, we do a little level check, right? Yeah, no, that's about what gets. Oh, can you get some white paper so we can do some white balance adjustment to make sure it's good for the film? It's like, at this stage, this isn't really important at this stage in time.
White balance, I'd skip. Level check's important. No point fucking trying to give a message if people can't hear you through distorted horse shit, or if your levels are too low.
I said that, I thought to myself, yeah, I can see where Skazz gets this from. This is like we're here. It's like, no, you will do your explanation, but I want to get your levels right.
I mean, again, though, that's the point, though, isn't it? If I'm broadcasting and people can't hear you, it's a waste of time. So your message is lost. If the levels are too high, no one's going to hear your message. It was a waste of time. You've got to get audio right, because people will just tune out otherwise. Could literally be a hostage situation, mate. You could have people getting. You could have the most grim motherfuckers in the world, and there are people getting headshot in the background. If the audio's going the entire time, they ain't gonna listen to it, or they ain't gonna sit there and watch it.
That just bit amused me. I just thought of you.
Nailed it.
I was like, I found that bit quite amusing.
Hard fact.
Actually, but I just want to mention that because I just watched it and I was like, oh yeah, Skazz there. Yeah, there he is.
See, audio. It's important.
Yeah,
get it right.
Yeah, get it right. Yeah, and I don't like the balance on that one.
Oh, that sucked. Can we do that again?
Yeah. Right, before we start, silence track, right?
So what did I say to you? Microphone, fist away from your face. Hold it there. Yeah. Don't be a bitch. Fucking stop ruining my production just because you're about to get shot in the face, fuckwad.
Yeah. So yeah, that's an okay film. Oh, that's okay. It's actually all right. It supposedly set back the nuclear industry by a huge amount in the 90s. I think 3 Mile Island might have had a bigger effect than the film. Because that 3 Mile Island happened like a week after the film got released.
Mm-hmm.
Unlucky for them.
Surprise.
So, lucky for the film production. It's like, hey, well, there you go. We said this could happen.
Congratulations.
Yeah. So, yeah.
You guys have all been cutting corners, mate.
3 Mile Island was, that's basically a faulty. That was realistically, it was actually a faulty valve, and Beautiful. It was actually there's an interesting talk on which I'll put in the show notes by this guy who talked about 3 Mile Island because it initially got put down to human error, but he actually says no, it's more likely the case that they simply had so much information coming at them. There's like these alarm boards that go round which light up when something goes wrong, sort of indicator boards, and there are like I think there's like something like 180 different alarms that could go up on these boards.
Yeah.
And the show says there's no way to tell when something's new, so they just light up. So if you look at a board and you look at a board with hundreds of lights on it, how can you tell if an extra 2 lights have come on?
Yeah.
And so there's no logic to me. It's like one of the most critical alarms was like radiation breaking and containment, just like right next to the alarm that tells you the lift's stuck. Yeah. You know, it's that sort of thing. So he basically presents it. I'll put a link in the show notes because that's actually a really interesting talk. He explains what went wrong, but the why it went wrong, and the fact that human error was blamed, but actually it's probably not fair because these were all experienced people. But, yeah. But I won't hash over that. Yeah, very good. So yeah, I just wanted to be out because that just amused me. So that's everything for me, Skazz.
There you go. That's it. Podcast done then, son.
So, thank you. So if anyone wants to joining us, you can now join us on our next podcast, which is in 2 weeks' time on the 4th of December. And sort of last one up to Christmas. Yay.
Yeah.
Yay. Yay. Skazz is really excited about the whole thing.
Yay.
Remember the Meat Man, Skazz. Remember the Meat Man.
Remember Meat Santa.
Meat Santa's on his way. So look forward to seeing that. So that's in a couple weeks' time. You can also check us out on YouTube, youtube.com/randnerds or twitch.tv/randnerds for that stream. We also do our games night, which is on Tuesday, the 23rd, which will be at roughly 8:30. You can check me out at twitch.tv/SuffyCram.
And you can find me at twitch.tv/Skazius, SK4ZZI0US.
Yep, you can check us out on wownerds.co.uk, and also we've got a Facebook and Twitter and all those sort of places as well. So thank you for watching, guys. We look forward to seeing you in a couple of weeks.
Take it easy, guys.